All right, well, welcome to another weekly podcast. Today our topic is going to be Chimera, and obviously we have ZQ Jerry here to be interviewed. So we're just going to have general questions before we begin with that. Do you have anything to say, Jerry?
Not in particular, but I'm pretty sure plenty of you know who I am already by now.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll
Yeah,
start off with a bit more of the generic questions and then get more into the actual pertinent ones.
Seems good.
So since Chimera is a fairly new division, what was like when you first became general before release? What was your initial sight of like? What was your initial like? What did you plan on the division looking like versus how it looks now? Was it
To
like
be
different or something?
fair, I mean, from what I can tell on my standpoint, there was some concerns about how exactly it was going to be. And when I was invited to discuss about how this division was going to be, the concept ideas that I thought was going to be involving something involving like elites or something that's similar to Phantoms was, but on a more inclusive base. But later on, it was shown to be that apparently it's going to be something more of a raiding division that has fortifications, much similar to combat engineers, but on the offensive type of deal.
so you weren't necessarily thinking exactly how it is now. You wanted it to be while it was in the process of being made.
I mean, from what the process that when we were going through this process, I wasn't exactly sure about how it was going to be. And so, to compare to how I thought of it now, I would definitely say that things have definitely been much different than what I've imagined way back.
I see. Obviously Chimera has been a massive deal for Red Cell, as obviously it's a new division, which is a very big deal, especially with our small numbers over divisions. How does it feel to like lead something that's such like a big milestone for the Red Cell?
To be fair, even though I do have a vast amount of experience, considering about how long I've been here in Red Cell, I would definitely say that I think it's quite amazing having to be able to participate in such a big event or big moment in Red Cell when you're literally having to introduce a new division, which is pretty major, especially with the fact that this is actually something much more similar to like any other Nighthawk division, but the fact that Red Cell finally has their own. Because back then, you only had you had the elites, and then you had the sword division. But when Chimera came out, I think it, I think it certainly was quite something to be able to partake in, especially when you're going to be the one leading it. But yeah, even though
Hmm.
I am leading it, there's still plenty of things that I do need to take care of, especially.
What
Yeah, and
are. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and the fact that Chimera is both like, not entirely the focus isn't completely on building more, not like CE, how it's kind of the focus is a lot more on building and
Yeah, that'd
actual
be
combat.
true. Most
Yeah.
of the time when we've been fighting in Chimera, you there's a I think that's a good portion of us have already known that many of the fortifications that we utilize are often used in order to lock down an area. More specifically, most of the time, it's often the Nighthawk spawn points. Not too close to it, or else, somebody's gonna get real upset about it. There's also the fact that when it comes to traps, like we've already have used like tripwire and rarely the gas mine, that's been going off on a milestone with how many people we've killed. I know a lot of you guys have already been killing Royal Guards, River Battalion, and I've heard that there was been one case. Well, yeah, there was one iconic case during the start of Chimera where three royal guards were running down the armory ventilation, and they all got taken out by tripwire explosives in that ventilation system. That one was actually pretty hilarious when I first heard about it.
Yeah. Evie, you had a question, right?
Oh, so obviously Chimera isn't perfect in the state it's in, whether how it's running or whatever. Do you have any changes for the better or for the worse you're thinking of? And how might they affect Chimera?
I mean, so far from what I've had in store and what I've seen so far, I know that there's been some concerns considering about the behavior in Chimera, which I
Yeah, I was
kind
gonna
of
ask about that.
expected, because especially with the fact that I know that there's a handful of you who have a pretty crazy opinion regarding the Nighthawks, and especially with the fact that we are constantly being bombarded with a lot of elite responses. But I think that even though we do need to handle that a lot, it's important for me to have you guys understand that this is something that we need to work up upon. Because I get that we are pretty relaxed, and I still want to keep it as a relaxed environment, while at the same time making sure that this isn't going to be something as strict as the military police environment, so to say, from what I've heard and what I have saw on in other environments that I've used to work in. So yeah, I think in the future, for now, I have some plans regarding about how we'll be focusing on discipline and moderation, but it won't be too major. In fact, where you're literally going to be like, "Oh, you got to behave yourself every time you go to an event." Nah.
But it's still enough just to keep people in order.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had in mind. Luckily,
Do you mind if I ask a quick question, actually? Um, so in regards to, as you're well aware, the Grand Crossing being further updated to another version now, do you feel like that's going to change anything for Chimera?
Chimera in particular will especially have some major things going on, since I have been briefed on how some parts of what the map will look like, but I'm not going to describe anything in detail about it because I was only just given tiny concept ideas about what they might be going on, but I cannot say that it's either true either, because the concept ideas that they have in mind from what I've heard and what rumors have been circulating is that it's definitely going to cause Chimera to be focusing their attention, especially on some new objectives going on for Grand Crossing 5.0, because of the fact that there's going to be some major objectives that both Nighthawk and Red Cell will be dealing with. But at the same time, there's going to be balances to the outdoor areas and the entry points for Red Cell, especially since I know that there's a lot of us that are pretty upset, like with how often we're going to be dealing with every day so far on 4.0 and 3.0 with entry points like, hey, sneak into cargo bay, oh, sneak into cafe. Well, luckily 5.0 should make things hopefully easier, but even though that the teasers we've had, like with those two snippets with our red cell base, I know it's a bit run down from what we've seen, but I think we can all hope that there's going to be some balances going on to at least make it a better place, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, oh, go on.
No, sorry, you can go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, do you possibly think then, due to this new update, that Chimera can expand more as a group from it? You know, like say expand Viper Squadron into like a subdivision, or like maybe make some changes to that, or maybe a new morph entirely, or like just other changes that could actually like level the playing field between us and the Imperium a bit more.
I think that so far at the moment, I think that depending on how the environment works, because the first priority for Red Cell and TNI is to adjust to the environment first. From that point on, I think that's where we will start seeing changes and maybe introduction to new equipment, new morphs, not just for Chimera, but for other divisions like the RCSF, especially since their job already infiltrators for Red Cell, and I think they would be playing a much more vital role in the 5.0 update from what I that's just from my belief. In terms of Chimera so far, I don't think that there's been necessarily any major things that need attention at the moment, but then I do know that there's a good amount of you that are asking for good stuff. And I understand that you guys want some new things too. I want some new things too, but we do need to be patient and understanding to keep sure that, hey, we want to keep the Nighthawks happy because we don't want to be way too overpowered as well. Because, well, I think it's pretty obvious. We already all know what happened when we first released. You already can tell how many people were complaining about us, especially even when we didn't have a morph.
Yeah, I think that was mainly down to the fact that they decided to use the actual Phantom tools as our starting tools. So yeah, I can understand why they changed it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When they first gave us the Sterling, I was actually pretty confused with the fact, hey, why did they give us the Phantom stats? Because when everyone got access to that, So many people were complaining about it, and I have had a good amount of people that are just like, "Why the hell do chimeras get this goated gun? It makes no sense." So I'm actually kind of glad that they at least managed to nerf the
Yeah.
weapon
I,
or
I mean,
balance it in a way.
T and I have had their fair share of new tools as well. I'm sure you've seen Black Daggers have now got their grapple tool.
Oh yeah.
IPC obviously has the what was it, the CCO morph, which is pretty nice to look at.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
hopefully they'll carry on being like a fair share for both sides.
Actually, speaking of phantoms, and I guess Maidenless, you can chime in here too.
Mhm.
Knowing what phantoms was at like its height or whatever, do you like kind of like what it was rebirthed into, or I guess evolved into with Vipers and Chimera? Like, do you
So
like that
yeah,
evolution?
so the main reason why Phantoms was quote unquote shut down was mainly because, from what I understand, the administration as well as the leadership of Red Cell both agreed, and I do agree with it as well, that the sort of tools that Phantoms had should have been more widely spread to actually give Red Cell a more fair advantage, or well, I say advantage, more of a fair chance against TNI compared to what they have. Yes, Phantoms in theory was a good idea, and yes, when they were at their peak, it was a quote unquote, well, devastating group to go against. We did have our moments. However, with how I wanted it to work and how little of a group I wanted it to be, but like that powerhouse that could have been called um, in theory, like it just wouldn't have been realistic enough for a group as big as Red Cell. Mainly down to the fact that like just having that one singular group of people, whether it be like 10 or maybe 15, if I try to push it, people just like constantly having to be relied upon, it wouldn't have been enough. And so with Chimera, we do have a lot more quote unquote firepower that we can bring to the playing field. So yeah, overall it was a better idea. I do miss Phantoms, yeah, I always will because it was kind of like my child, in a sense. But yeah, I did expect it to happen at some point, and you know, it just gives more of an opportunity for Red Cell to carry on expanding to become bigger and better. Like as days go by, and hopefully, you never know. I mean, Viper Squadron could expand in the future to recreate Phantoms, or like maybe like a bit of a remnant of that. We don't know what's going to happen with that, but like there's so many different possibilities that you can do with Red Cell, or like so many avenues that you can take. But that isn't necessarily down to me, or like that's not even down to Jerry. In a whole, that is down to the leadership as well as the administration. So I guess we just have to sit around and wait and see what they want to do, or like what direction they want to take Red Cell. I
I'll
mean,
definitely say this for a
yeah.
fact, just to jump into this. I've not too long ago, I've discussed with Winter regarding about Viper's cap, because normally the Viper Squadron's cap is to 10 members. I've discussed about it if it was possible to maybe increase it to 20, but unfortunately, that's a no.
Hmm. I mean, I could understand why that's been a no, but end of the day, you have to also realize that Viper Squadron ain't even one of the most powerful morphs. Like we've tested and proven that. And Viper Squadron isn't meant to run as a subdivision. It is just a metal morph, so it's not going to be, like the most extremely cracked tool set that you'd see, like what Phantoms was, because Phantoms was meant to be the best of the best.
Yeah, that's
Whereas
true.
like you have to compare Viper Squadron to RCSF. RCSF is meant to be like the main bulwark of Red Cell, not Viper Squadron. So like there could be different things that come in the future, but like I said, we don't know yet. So it's just more of a waiting game to see what happens.
Yeah, for now, I've already understand that Viper Squadron so far is just going to be Chimera, just specialists, from what I've
Hmm.
pictured. I do know that some of you are interested in maybe more Viper expansions, like something involving like, hey, why don't you give Viper Squadron a flamethrower? I already had that request a good amount.
Flamethrower.
Yeah, so there was a moment in time where the flamethrower was one of the most broken weapons, and me and Methinks did put that to the limit. To the point where yes, it got noticed and it did get nerfed. It's still a good weapon, but it's more of a close combat, or like if you want to just kill somebody quickly, then there you go, you've got the option. But yeah, there's been so many different ideas of where we could take Viper Squadron, and it's a case of can't do too much. Like even I've suggested, oh yeah, maybe a second metal morph, and like do a bit of a Cerberus, like where there's half and half. So you've got like Chimera regulars, and then you've got your specialists within Chimera Vipers. So like there'd be like a select 5 of the Vipers that would get a higher level or higher grade morph, and they're the bulwarks. But obviously that's just one of many ideas. So yeah.
But like you said, the Chimera or Viper Squadron probably won't get to insane stuff because
Oh
as
no,
it
no.
is, it's a metal morph. If it was turned into an entire subdivision, maybe it would get,
Then yeah, then maybe we could expand to that kind of things. But as it's shown and as it's seen at the minute, I highly doubt that will happen in the future. It's a possibility, but it's very unlikely.
Yeah, the common thing that I have to keep addressing when it comes to Viper alone, you have to keep in mind that this is only a metamorph, not exactly a whole entire subdivision as well.
Oh, well, I
Yeah.
know Maidenless briefly touched upon RCSF earlier. That actually made me want to ask. So, in the past, RCSF was a bit more clanner based, I know, and as of late, it switched to being more border based. Do you think that benefited Chimera or no?
Jerry, do you want to answer this one?
What exactly?
So it is basically asking, do you think with the change of RCSF becoming a more I can't speak, a more border-based division, do you think that's benefiting Chimera more?
I definitely think it's definitely benefiting Chimera more because even though it may seem like, oh, that's going to remove activity from Chimera, no, not exactly. Because I've already done a few things to promote both RCSF and Chimera, because you already seen with the United We Stand medal in particular, and also the fact that the Viper Squadron also, when we reveal this to you, they also have access to the RCSF communications in order to work together for certain events going on together. So yeah, they do some joint events time to time. So I think that things are going to be well even during 5.0 because there are some things that will be coming. I don't know what exactly, but I do know that things are going to be good later
I
on.
mean, I might as well say this since I'm doubting that everyone's aware of it or remembers it. But Astrochemistry has said himself that he does plan to change a lot of the weapons, if not just completely across the board. All of the TTKs for weapons, so that majority of weapons will basically have like a quicker time to kill. Mainly just to make gameplay more fast paced, from what I've heard. So yeah, end of the day, depending on what happens to our stats for our weapons, it could be more of a case that Red Cell are actually like a lot more harder to come against. And it will just be down to like who can aim better instead of it being like who has the better weapons. So yeah, it may actually be quite an entertaining change. Since of course, like there will be certain divisions or groups, such as obviously IPC, who are going to have the better weapons no matter what. But hopefully, this new idea or update that Astrochemistry is going to come out with is going to give you more of a chance to be able to actually go against them without any worries. So yeah, it is something that we'll have to keep an eye on. Oh, sorry, what was it?
No, I was gonna say it would be a nice change actually, because I know some of the weapons are like absolutely dog, and then there's a too much, in my opinion, quite a large gap between the abilities of weapons. So moving ahead, kind of more to the future, has there been any what do you think since release has been the biggest change or biggest effector of Chimera, or something that you really didn't expect, I guess?
I definitely would definitely say I think we can all agree on when the Imperial Peacekeepers released their riot control morph, that already threw a lot of people off guard, especially with the fact that it was basically, in a nutshell, a response against Chimera. But I know for a fact because Condemning did address that this was something that they planned in the long term before it was released. But it would make sense that people would be like, oh, frick, now they want to get rid of us because of that. But you already can tell that there's been some drastic changes as well following the release of Chimera.
That is indeed true.
Another example would be that one metal morph that what combat engineers have when you are served for a certain amount of period during combat engineers. That's one example.
I mean, I think we've said in the past, so like, come up with an idea of maybe even trying to get a medal morph for RCSF in the future as well. I'm pretty sure I've heard that somewhere. Would be a nice idea and a more of a sentimental thing for RCSF members to go for, but obviously there's also the champion rank as well, so.
I do believe that medal, that morph in particular, is kind of almost a officer corps medal now. Because I know that there's been some progressional changes in RCSF as well.
Yeah. But yeah, there.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just gonna say, but yeah, there is so much, like ideas that could go forward in the future, but like it is just literally down to what the administration agrees with, as well as the leadership of Red Cell, because we might actually be seeing changes in the very near future, since there's just been a ceremony announced as well. So maybe I see that still Praisen is actually listening in, so maybe he could give us like a bit of an insider as to what we should expect. But I highly doubt that.
Man, the sad part is that I'm not going to be able to come to that ceremony, unfortunately, because of
Yeah,
how
I
busy
probably won't
I
be
am.
on either.
I mean, we've seen Red Cell expand quite a bit under Winter and now Praising, obviously. So, I mean, basically anything's possible for Red Cell at this point.
Perhaps
Man,
Praisen's taking over.
2 of my marshals.
Oh yeah, you lost 2 of your marshals, didn't you?
I won't
I
say
did,
anything
unfortunately.
regarding the ceremony, but I
You
will
will
say
not.
that the medal morph to RCSF was scrapped a long time ago.
Yeah, thought so. I mean, do you have any opinions on what could change, or like what could be possibilities in the future?
I mean, I would want to joke around with the fact
So?
that when I pulled off
Yeah.
that one April Fool's joke in Chimera, you guys remember that one?
That
Oh
was
god. Yeah, that was a good one. I do remember that.
You were literally believing it.
Yeah, I fell for it. I did fall for it.
It did.
But yeah, Prison just in general, not just for Red Cell, but like more combatively for RCSF and Chimera. Do you think there could be any expansions in the future for them too?
I see it as a probability in the very long term, but nothing within the next year.
Because I know you said that you'd want to happily see, like stuff that are more capable of, combating against, the new CCO morph or so on. Since there's quite a big, not necessarily skill gap, obviously, but like more of a weaponry or like tool-based gap.
Yeah, I mean, we're always working on shrinking the differences, and me and Winter are constantly in touch with administration, sorting out changes, sorting out new stuff for balancing Templars a bit more as well, because obviously they've got the issue with progression inside of Templars. So there's a new morph coming to Templars down the line, I think, if I can remember rightly. There are some changes to some things. I can't go into too much detail.
As it's straight up leaking, but well, that's good to hear. The Templars are going to be getting new stuff.
It's more balancing and just giving people incentives more so. But in relation to Viper Squad, I don't see it expanding like within the next
few months, if not more.
A few months to a year, most likely.
To be fair, I wasn't really expecting much after what
I wasn't
Winter discussed with me, so I'm already fine. The only thing I would be waiting for Viper would just be their uniform, but RCSF priorities come first.
Yeah, and it would be nice to see more morphs for RCSF, like more heavy duty, I guess. Like with, for example, how Cerberus Chimera has the minigun morph, and that's, like mainly for close quarters. It would be nice to see RCSF getting, like more variety, I guess. Because, when I originally came up with the idea for the tools or the morphs for RCSF when they were being made, like for, the Phantom Plus and the Champion morph, I necessarily thought that the FAMAS and the ICSR would have been a good idea. Which, in theory it is, but it's still just clearly not enough to take on, like the more what's the word I'm looking for? Monsters of TNI, I guess.
Hey, we already know that the Imperial Peacekeeper is its own animal.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, and it always will be. But it would
But
be
at least
nice
on
if
the bright side.
it,
I
it
know
would be
that's
nice
in
to
the
see
next up.
something like that.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
Chimera has been actually able to manage with them pretty well, or IPC
Oh yeah,
has.
yeah.
Yeah, so, moving,
If there's one
changing.
thing. Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead,
sure, go
Sid.
ahead. No,
Don't
you
worry,
can
don't
go
worry.
ahead. I was gonna, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if there's one thing that I can tell you for sure is that in the next update for Grand Crossing, at least we're all of us in general who play the Grand Crossing. You could at least breathe a sigh of relief once you find out about the new inventory system, because at least you're not going to be dealing with the fact that every time you die, you have to reorganize your whole inventory. They're going to save inventory system is going to be coming in.
Oh, I didn't
About
even know
time.
that.
Yeah, they were meant to release it in 4.0, but there was a lot of issues with it. So
Yeah.
I see.
hopefully they're fully fixing it now.
Well, changing topics a bit to development, Chimera on its own already has like one of the best facilities in Red Cell, I can confidently say, with their beautiful rally. Um, are there currently any like confirmed, I guess, like non-TGC development projects planned for Chimera?
I mean, I do know a few of them for sure, but I'm not going to say what exactly they are, since I don't think it would be it'd be illegal for me to disclose it. That would be something Praising would be able to say, not me, unfortunately.
I
But on
mean,
the Chimera development field, we don't really have anything of interest going on, except for the fact that we've been able to release that one wild facility for that secondary simulation where you literally have access to every single game pass. That's only for fun.
Yep, it is rather a cool place. Hide and seek's been fun on there, I will say.
I know maybe eventually there's gonna be one day where I do arrange some kind of scrimmage going on with MP or whatever Nighthawk division, and we just use the secondary facility for fun. And everyone's like, "Yo, I got everything."
I mean, are you still planning to continue expansions for the rally place for Chimera?
That one's a good question because
Development has been slow,
I
hasn't it?
did had some plans on it, but currently, some important people have unfortunately had decided to depart from Chimera, so some development has halted, unfortunately. But there's also the fact that when it comes to a lot of people who often are asking me, "Hey, when's Sector 2 going to be coming out?"
Ah,
I'm going
yes,
to
the command center.
say no, because I've talked to Winter, and I know that Praisings has also talked to me about, because yeah, he wasn't exactly happy when he found out about something involving Sector 4, but it's all good, I think, hopefully, unless he's going to be yelling at my DMs in 5 minutes. But yeah, for now though, some of the Chimera stuff that we did initially plan, I'm likely going to be arranging that to be something that you'll be finding in a later future for a later facility. That's if Winter's still working on that at the moment.
You giving me incentive to go and check Sector 4 again?
Dear Lord, let me remind you, Praising, that nothing has changed ever since we both discussed about what happened about the
I need to
facility.
go and sort it out, don't worry.
Oh, come on, I'm still waiting on that whole change that you're arranging for.
Yeah, got it saved. I just need to upload it.
Oh, have you been working on
Dear,
Sector 4 yourself,
dear
Prison?
boy.
Yeah,
Oh, very nice.
I might, be spiffing it up a bit, you know? Anyway, less of me, more podcast.
Indeed.
All right,
Um,
all right. Anything we want to discuss? Because I think that was about it for Chimera development, unless I want to talk. Well, yeah, I mentioned about something regarding lore, but yeah, that I don't know about that one. That would depend on how Winter and I will discuss much later down the line once he starts thinking about doing lore again. But not now,
It's an interesting
unless
subject.
I retire early. But hey, I don't know when that'll happen. No, could happen
You
soon.
better not.
Relax, phrasing. I'm not planning on retiring anytime sooner. For now.
well, that's good. I was gonna ask if, like, so Chimera has the probably most different internal systems out of the Ritzel and Ritzel divisions. I'm actually not sure about RCSF, but obviously one marshal handles permission in their commandment. has that been like a sufficient enough system to handle like the progression of the officer corps, or is there plans to expand that in the future?
I mean, so far with the commandant and marshal system, I haven't really seen any major issues, but I think later down the line, once we start seeing like more than 2,000 or 1,000 concurrent members actively going on in Chimera, then I might have to start looking into departments. But that would be something I would need to discuss with all of my high command and also with someone like Winter to see if this is something necessary, because back then before release there was an important talk I've had with Winter regarding about how we're going to be
He didn't want
arranging
any,
that
did he?
stuff, and he
Yeah.
didn't want he specifically didn't want departments in particular because of how he's seen things from what I've heard. What if we ever do decide like it's starting to become a potential thing that we might need to introduce? Then we'll definitely start thinking about introducing it for sure. Or first by getting approval first. I'd rather not be jumping the gun and start throwing stuff and introducing things without permission, or else that's how you lose your job real fast. Real tip for y'all. Don't think of things without permission. That's something you really need to know about.
Good advice.
Yes.
Wise words from our president. Alright,
Do stuff without permission, I cut you.
Sounds about right.
Now that oh man, crazy, why does it sound like you're about to do the domestic violence case?
Wouldn't be the
Well,
first
if
time.
I'm going through 3 already anyway, so don't worry about it.
Oh jeez.
Now you're making me real worried.
Just forgot my. Okay, wait, never mind. So I noticed, I believe when Chimera was originally created, future top CTs were like a no-no because obviously border-based. But as of
Yeah.
late, I have noticed a few of those. What made the change?
That change in particular, I think, was most. I would have to unfortunately say that was a bit of an emergency situation because apparently the Chimera Exodus went down.
I see.
Because if you remember following that one crazy situation where Nighthawk hosts is like, oh my gosh, why can't I host on that? Yeah, so that case also applied with Chimera's facilities for a hot minute. So I did just see yesterday or today Faz had taken care of it, I think. So I think that once I check on it and it after this podcast, and if things are well, we could resume back to that stuff, I would say. But I will need to tell my officers about it because yeah, they've been doing some stuff. And also I have been hearing about a crazy cult considering about Warbot in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've been raising
Ah
some
yes.
concerns from
The
me.
Warbot clan. An interesting bunch. What's the deal with that then? Like, how's that all started off? Is it just like another Santok cult all over again?
Something like that. Considering the fact that Warbot, if you do, for some reason do not know about who Warbot is often regarded to be one of the most popular officers in the Chimera Corps because of the fact that he's he's had a history already of having to be going crazy on easy on hosting sprees. So he's literally hosting border raid after border raid and going like a madman, not in a negative way. But there's also the fact that he somehow is able to pop off on a mobile device. So he's literally not only is he raiding the Grand Crossing, he's also raiding on a mobile device. So yeah, literally fighting on a phone.
I used to be incredible at Fortnite Mobile. Just putting that
Some
out there.
people often say he's got those gamer thumbs, man. And also, he's also a member of Viper. And then all of a sudden, now there's a cult praising him and stuff.
I mean, it reminds me of. Do you remember the turtle meme that was going around the Suntail?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Don't remind me about that again.
How many people was it that were using that profile picture?
I don't remember.
70 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the seeing chat spam with that. It does seem like a similar thing's happening again. Let's just hope it doesn't get that bigger.
So I know there has, or maybe even for people that are wondering, what would you say if, okay, let's say your average Joe, I don't know, you're not really known, you just joined Chimera, you're looking to get in Viper. Like, what's the best route for you to go? Like, how do you, like, make yourself known or, like, put yourself out there?
So one of the things that I often note about or address to people when it comes to wanting to make yourself known or to be noticed by us is that only those that are the people that will definitely take note of you are going to be my squadron leader that I appointed, the Chimera High Command. So it's not just me, but also the marshals that'll be keeping an eye out. And there's also the fact that throughout time, I look around, oh, and some clips and general, sometimes gallery, and if maybe later on I might introduce a clips channel, but there's also the fact that when you do those submissions for targets, I also take note of that to see how effective you are on the border as well. But there's a lot in store. Well, if you do get noticed, just because you're a member or a neonate does not mean that you're an official member. There's still more steps involved that we look into before we consider you ready to be exact.
I see.
Because I mean, at the end of the day as well, a lot of the Viper members, yeah, they may be part of Viper, but that doesn't mean that there isn't still room for improvement as a Viper member.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I've obviously gone rusty because I don't play as much anymore. I've like everyone knows, I've quit clanning like completely. But yeah, like there is times where I look back and I just think, oh, damn, I'm not as good as I used to be. So yeah, not just me alone, but there is like other people in Viper, or not just Viper, but also RCSF that know for a fact there is so much more they can do to improve. So yeah, like you have to have the dedication to want to get better each and every day, if you want to stick around in Viper, especially. So, you know, just prove that you know worth the title, I guess.
I mean, keep in mind, there's a lot in mind, but hey,
Yeah.
there's also the fact that there's also one case involving with because I know that there's some of you who have a significant background. If you know people like Gentix and Rev Revi, they have a history in Cerberus, and that was something that I took majorly notice when they arrived to Chimera. And I know that in the future, I know that maybe there's going to be more people that may take in consideration. But hey, I know that there's been a few Viper members who unfortunately have departed from us because, one was caught cheating and one literally touched grass and now he's gone.
I wish I could do
A bit of a
that.
shame.
But yeah, that one in particular person who happened to join us and then start exploiting was quite the interesting topic.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah, he's an
there's
interesting
been a
guy.
lot of cases like that. You know, like in Cerberus, Commandos, Black Daggers, where there has just been the people have just been like, oh, you know what? Forget actually practicing. I'm switching to exploits, and I don't understand why people do it.
Yeah, it
Like,
just never
it's
ends
not
well.
hard to become better.
I mean, to be fair, there's those times where you're like, yeah, I'm going to get better. I'm going to train and be the best. And it comes to a moment where you get so tired and so sick of it, and you're like, yeah, screw it. I might as well start injecting.
That's the thing. Even I used to. What was it? When I first joined TNI, I used to FPS because I didn't know about third personing. Like I was completely clueless until somebody was just like, "Oh yeah, you should try third personing,"
Man, don't get
and
me started.
instantly, and instantly started top fragging like a week after, and it was ridiculous. But you know, like there's so much, you know, like practices or you know like different types of improving yourself that you can do, you know, like just averagely going to raids or you know going and doing bot Emma now, since bot Emma's a massive thing. uh, but yeah, like for example, the way I improved was literally just constantly going from raids to raid, and I slowly saw that I started improving and improving until I started getting a reputation. And eventually, I'd been in every single subdivision across TNI. Well,
Literally,
so
plus
yeah,
respect.
subdivision. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a rumor going around that I almost got put into Royal Guard, but obviously that didn't happen. I think it
I
was
know
mainly
you're
because I was
still
switching
looking
between.
around for a
So.
potential career in Imperial Peacekeepers, though I don't think that's going to be happening anytime sooner.
What, you're skulking around for IPC?
Hey, not me. I am
Oh,
way
you're
too
trying to say
busy.
that I'm skulking around for IPC? Nah,
Yeah, for sure.
my days were over, my guy. My days were
Yeah,
over.
that's the sad part, but hey, it's okay. I mean, for me, I'm literally had spent like 3 years in Red Cell, and you literally pursued a career in TNI. I'm surprised that somehow I ended up in the Chimera directorship.
I mean, I think, and I'm pretty sure both Winter and Prison can agree with me, you were probably one of the most best choices we could have had, mainly down to your just general dedication to Red Cell overall. You've been with the group for what, almost 4 years now?
4
Just a
years,
little bit below me,
man. Oh man,
something
I
like
feel
that.
old now. Maybe I should retire soon.
And yeah, we just saw you as the leader that would have been perfect for Chimera because, obviously, I didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah,
that's my reasons as to why I
your
stepped down.
moments in Chimera, no, your moments in particular with Red Cell has been something of a quite of a
Yeah,
pretty
I've had my
interesting
fair share.
moment.
I've had my fair share, but it's not about me anymore. I don't really care about my legacy or anything like that. It's just mainly
Yeah,
down
that's
to
true.
what Red Cell can do in the future.
That's true.
So this will likely be one of our last questions. What what image would you like? So Tia and I that have never been in the red cell or don't plan on being in the red cell, what image do you want Viper or Chimera to give to them? Like how do you want them to look from the outside?
I mean, to be fair, I don't expect TNI to be thinking that, oh gosh, they're literally a freaking Mongol horde that's about to kill us all. No, not exactly. I think that on a much more better case, I would simply just say, hey, this is just a red cell division that at least is going to be a threat to us. Not something like literally full on skill, like, oh god, we're going to die sort of deal. But for some reason, it looks like that's what everybody is thinking at the moment for some reason. But in the end, I think that it's going to come to a point like, yeah, they're just a red cell division that at least is pretty serious to deal with. Something somewhere on par with like combat engineers or Ripper Battalion. I don't expect something too crazy. Same goes with Viper, because keep in mind that what I've specifically addressed, including in the doctrine papers and also to Viper members, is that even though you have the medal, this does not mean that you're higher than anybody else. I even specifically addressed this so that they don't have superiority even over officers. They're just the same level as a normal chimera in specific. Yeah, that was something that I literally decided to take note on when I was used to be a phantom, actually.
Oh. Alright, well
Rest in peace, Phantoms.
Because you gave us too much power.
yeah.
It wasn't necessarily too much power. We just had way too many good tools, and we put them to use a little bit too much.
To be fair, I mean, there goes the idea. I mean, I remember the early Viper gear set that we had in mind, similar to the one for Cell 5, and now it's just a similar one to the
Faster
Grenadier one.
Sterling. Yeah.
Faster Sterling, except the fact that people keep complaining about why the hell did you give frickin' Viper the P95? And I'm like, what? No, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's nothing like the P95. If people actually compared the P95 to the Sterling V, they'd obviously see that the P95 will always be one of the most superior guns. How it should be.
But one thing I did notice is the fact that Reaper Battalion and military police, something's been going on over there for some reason. I don't know what exactly it is, but there seems to be some kind of conflict going on over there. I don't know exactly, but I just heard rumors pertaining to it. But I'd rather not go too deep onto it, though.
Yeah. As this is a red cell podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think this is a fitting final question. I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, like when you first joined, how you expected Chimera to look. Where you are here now, where do you see like Chimera headed in the future? Kind of a generic question.
I think in the future, because I know that, because eventually I can't just stay here forever, because eventually I need to move on and someone will need to take my place. Even though that sometimes it might not be perfect to what it is now, I can only hope that whether if it's going to be people that, for you younger chimeras are going to be eventually will have to take the responsibility of taking the mantle. I only ask that you guys can remember that we are not just for raiding the border. We're mainly a community that wants to have fun. Even though we are here because we literally want to get that revenge that we want against DNI, because for the past 3 years we've literally got bullied to death by so many elite divisions. I just want you all to understand that we might get our ass kicked plenty of times, but no matter what happens, we will still show that we will be able to adapt and still be able to overcome those challenges. And just for now, just enjoy it and have a good time with it. And eventually, if you are willing to continue that legacy that I have right now, you're more than welcome to. Just try not to use it for a weird moment, because I already heard somebody wrote a fan fiction of me. That one was pretty ridiculous to hear.
We'll read that on the next podcast. Not actually.
Well, next time, maybe I'll go into detail about that if I find out about it.
Alright. Well, I think those are actually pretty fitting final words. Do either of you have anything to add before we end?
No.
Do you have anything else, Jerry?
No, not in particular, unless you guys wanted to discuss about a question in particular.
Nope, because I actually have to go. But, thank you for
I
being a
see.
guest on our podcast, and thanks to our hosts, me and Maidenless. I thank
Right.
you, I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Before we end this thing, I need to tell you all for Chimera, there's gonna be a special event going on soon. I don't have the full plan for it yet, but there's gonna be something big coming soon. Stay tuned for that because there's gonna be a lot of things involving a good amount of people. So yeah, I need a lot of manpower in the future. Just saying.
Sounds like
Sounds
fun.
good.
Yeah, can't wait to see what that's gonna be. Well, again, thank you. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Cheers, man.
All right.
Adios.
Take care,
Thank you all
everyone.
for attending. See you.